Well, happy Monday from the beautiful Hennepin Avenue Bridge and the iconic grain belt sign there behind me. Welcoming some sunshine and much warmer temperatures here for the first part of the week. We're talking summer-like temperatures again. Of course, we'll also talk about the smoke in California that blew through here, what we might expect this whole week as far as that goes. And of course, taking a look at Sally, which is going to impact the southeast and cause some major flooding concerns. Here's a look at Sally this morning and the whole host of other systems lined up behind her. But Sally is the one of concern right now. It is a strong tropical storm likely to become a hurricane later today or tonight. And I sat down and talked with Disharoon, who worked in New Orleans for several years and tracked many tropical systems. And he talked a little bit about what are some of the particular concerns in New Orleans. And this Sally is taking aim really at New Orleans at the latest track, right? What's the worst case scenario for a track for New Orleans?
So the worst case for New Orleans is if the center of Sally ends up going actually to the west of the city. And the reason for that is it would put on the east side of the storm. We all kind of know that just due to the basics of the way the nature of hurricanes are. The reason in this particular storm it's actually worse than you would think is because Sally's going to be slowing down as it gets towards the northern Gulf Coast and then eventually making the turn. So whoever is on that landfall spot east of the eye is not only going to get the hurricane force winds, for an extended period of time, it's going to get it as that storm curves all the way around it. So it's not just going to be a few hours. We're talking 12 to 24 hours. High-end tropical storms with low-end hurricane force winds, in addition to torrential rain that's going to be measured in feet, not inches. So wherever this goes, it's not good. And keep in mind that high pressure system that's bringing you the wildfire smoke is what's actually going to be causing Sally to slow down across the Gulf of Mexico. So it's kind of neat to look at how all of these things are interconnected.
Add some guilt to our warm sunshine the next few days. Is that what you're saying? Thanks. So as we were discussing, the heavy rainfall, but also storm surge is going to be a big issue here. This is a look at what the National Hurricane Center forecast for storm surge in New Orleans, still expecting the 7 to 11 foot storm surge. So you add that on top of copious amounts of rainfall, though it is looking more and more that they might be spared the heaviest of the rain, but we're talking 15 to 20 inches of rain just east of New Orleans along the Mississippi coastline. Of course, Mississippi pretty flat too, so just as bad, just maybe moving a little further off to the east from some of the previous and earlier tracks. Winds are going to be an issue as well. This is a look at the European models. Rainfall matches up pretty well with what they're expecting from the National Hurricane Center. Again, a big bullseye of some rainfall, but winds are going to be an issue too. Not as strong as some of the storms we've seen this season, but it's mostly going to be the wind and the rainfall and the storm surge that we're talking about with Sally. But we'll put on this swath of winds, and this shows where we'll see the bulk of those hurricane force wind gusts. And there are going to be some 80, 90 mile an hour wind gusts, again, though, just east of New Orleans. So New Orleans may be being spared here the worst of the wind, rain, and storm surge, which is good news because obviously that is a particularly vulnerable place and a large population center. But east of there along the Gulf Coast still will definitely be affected adversely from the effects of Sally, which will make landfall here early tomorrow. We'll show you the latest track of what we're expecting with Sally. And it's going to be moving very slowly. As JD talked about, our high pressure giving us the warm sunshine the first part of the week is really kind of keeping things from moving very quickly there in the southeast. It normally would get caught up to the northeast, but that high pressure slowing that down. So we're talking about landfall of the center of the storm late tonight, early tomorrow morning, but they'll already be seeing the effects through the day today. In fact, we can see on satellite that some of the outer clouds and rain bands are already reaching some of the Gulf Coast as we speak. So we've got that going on. Of course, the smoke inevitably was going to arrive in Minnesota, and it did. Tracking from those fires directly in California, we can actually follow that into northwestern states, Washington and Oregon, and then across Idaho, Montana, into the Dakotas, arriving in Minnesota finally yesterday. It's caused those hazy skies, and you can see a lot of fires, and just the expanse of smoke on this map is insane. Just shows you the volume of fire that we are seeing across many of those regions. And here's a little upper level schematic understanding of things. You can see Sally there in the southeast, our big high pressure, but this is mid-level winds, and it's the reason we're getting the smoke now is because everything is tracking just perfectly from California up to the north a little bit, and then over Minnesota. So it's giving us this warm pattern, but that's going to be pumping in the smoke. Here's maybe a little better view highlighting those mid-level winds. The jet stream winds are a little bit above this layer, but either way, very close to a similar direction coming from the northwest. And this is one of NASA's smoke models they use, and where you see the pinkish and bright white areas, those are thickest smoke. And as long as we're in or close to that jet stream coming from California, we are going to have occasional areas of smoke moving through right through the rest of the week. Otherwise, it is going to be warm. We're talking 70s today, some 80s, and even near 90-degree temperatures off to the west. And then tomorrow, back into low 80s territory here across southern Minnesota. Could be close to 80 again on Wednesday, but a cool front will slip through later in the day, and we're talking about highs only in the 50s and 60s again Friday, Saturday. Looks like a shorter-lived cool down, though, and then we'll be warming up here back 70s, maybe even 80-degree temperatures by the end of the weekend and next week. In fact, the second half of September is looking above normal, whereas our first half of the month has been cooler than normal. But of course, normal is cooling through the month too, if that makes any sense. So it'll be several degrees warmer than normal the last 2 weeks of September, but that average high cools down into the 70s and 60s from the upper 70s where we started the month. Next chance of showers doesn't really move in until perhaps Saturday. It's looking like a pretty spotty chance right now. And the models differ on the timing of maybe some of that weekend rain, but otherwise a warm, dry week with cooler temperatures